What the Tech is brought to you by Storyblocks. Storyblocks Video gives you studio quality 4K stock video without blowing your budget. 2 words, unlimited downloads. To find out more, go to storyblocks.com/whatthetech. Green Chef, a USDA certified organic company. Go to greenchef.us/Andrew75 to get a total of $75 off. That's $25 off your first 3 boxes of Green Chef meals. Everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian. I'm joined by, actually, Paul's not here today. I'm joined by somebody else. I'm joined by one of my good friends, Iyaz Akhtar. Hey, Iyaz.
Hey, how's it going?
I am doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You're doing well.
That's right.
Iyaz is in CNET. You do a show.
I do multiple shows. I do a show called Alphabet City where we cover all kinds of things that Alphabet does and related to that. And Alphabet happens to own Google, which owns like lots of other stuff. And then there's also Top 5, which I'm writing a script for as we speak, and whatever else I do per week. Not sure anymore.
Yeah, you do a lot of stuff. You're doing a lot of things.
And we're developing a new show, and I'll tease that later.
Oh, I'm joined by Iyaz today because Paul is away. Paul is not around today. We have a lot to talk about, obviously. I actually want to know, what have you been doing? Tell me more about the shows you've been doing for a little bit. Because every time I go on YouTube now, I see you.
Yeah, so the show Alphabet City started off as this kind of Google-centric show, and they had multiple topics, and it would be like a news recap for the week. But it shifted to a YouTube strategy where you have like one topic. So we're seeing how that works. So we've gone in depth with things like the Note 10. We have your roundups on all the rumors there. There's all these roundups on the Pixel 3a, which nobody cared about. And then the Pixel 4. That stuff was pretty big. Then there's Top 5, which is a countdown show. And the one I'm working on right now is Top 5 reasons why the NVIDIA Shield TV is awesome. And the shirt's kind of a joke because Avengers and Shield. Get it?
That's perfect. I see that you are big on the wrestling T-shirts and the comic T-shirts. Actually, the NVIDIA Shield is one of the topics that always comes up on the show. People love it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's an old box. It's been out for 2 years, and apparently it has the same internals from the original, but they just shrunk it down. And it's become my go-to streamer in my apartment.
Has it really?
Oh, yeah, except for Hulu. It sucks for Hulu.
Why is that?
Okay, so you can't change profiles, which means whoever the first person is on your list, their queue is going to get messed up if you start using that. So I have to switch over to Roku just so I can get my own profile stuff.
Oh, that's wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no live TV support on Hulu as well. I don't use that, but that app has not been updated in a while.
How about for YouTube Plus, YouTube Live, YouTube TV?
No, YouTube is fantastic on that thing. I don't have the cable replacement version of YouTube TV, so I haven't tried that part out. But the YouTube app is, it's on Android TV, so it runs really well, and it's just super fast.
I have to tell you, I am a big fan of YouTube TV. As far as the cable, alternatives that exist, these guys do the best quality to the point that it's better than cable because you get 1080p video from them. And I think a lot of people don't know at a very high bit rate.
You're a frame rate guy, though. How does it look? Does it look like it's streaming, or does it look like actual television?
You know what? It looks like actual television, or as close to as actual television. I was watching some football on there a couple months back, and it was a CBS feed, and it was 1080p, and I was very impressed on how the frame rate kind of holds up because it's 60 frames a second. It's not 30.
That's pretty surprising.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give that a shot, I think.
Yeah, they do a very good job at that. They're one of the only ones, actually. I've tried all of them. As you know, I've done those comparisons for a while now, and it seems to be the best one unless there's been some improvements to the other guys. I have a lot to talk to you about. Obviously, I know you're a big Google guy, and there was a bizarre unveil yesterday that a lot of people did not know was happening. Were you I want to get to it, but did you know it was happening?
I had no idea. When I saw it pop up in our corporate Slack and I saw this tweet, I was just shocked that Google went ahead and at least showed a render or a picture of the back of the Pixel 4. And they even called it that, at least with the hashtag Pixel 4.
Yeah, I thought it was wild. I do want to talk about this and a whole lot more. Before we continue, I'm going to welcome a new sponsor. I'm very happy to introduce these guys. And it's Green Chef, a USDA organic company. They offer everything. They're offering everyone in our audience a total of $75 off. That's $25 off each of your first 3 boxes at Green Chef meal plans. They include paleo, plant-powered, vegan and vegetarian, keto, gluten-free, omnivore. They're doing amazing stuff. And you can go to greenchef.us/Andrew75. That's greenchef.us/Andrew75 to get your discount. So what they do, this is actually pretty cool. You guys maybe are familiar with HelloFresh. They've been sponsoring the show for some time. I'm a big fan of them. Green Chef and HelloFresh, they have a relationship. Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh to offer a wider array of meal choices. I love switching between the brands, to be honest. I want to eat a little differently one month compared to the other one, and I could do that with these guys. With Green Chef, you could easily eat well and discover new recipes that you'll love to cook every single week. You can switch up your meal plan and change the boxes you're getting to try it in new ways. With Green Chef, a wide array of high-quality, clean ingredients. Now, here's the great thing about this. So when we got the package, I wasn't home, right? My wife was home, and she told me that we got this package from Green Chef. I'm like, great. Do me a favor. What are the options? And she went through the options, and one of it was a shrimp dish. And I was like, you know what? That's what I want. By the time I got home, there was nothing left. There was like 2 pieces left for me because it was so good. Obviously, all the other stuff was great. I absolutely loved it. I encourage you guys to try them out. That's greenchef.us/Andrew75. greenchef.us/Andrew75 for a total of $75 off. That's $25 off each of your first 3 boxes of Green Chef. I want to thank them for supporting the show. So, Iyaz, let's talk about this Google unveiled, the Google Pixel 4.
Let's talk about this. So the thing is, there's been all these renders out lately. There was this render from the site called PriceBaba.com, which I'm sure everybody knows. It's like everyone's go-to site. I know, right? And they put up this render that they got this information from OnLeaks. And the idea was we have this square camera unit on the back, and you've got this very interesting design because it's kind of ugly. Also, the Apple iPhone 11 is rumored to have the same square. So this happened, I think that was earlier this week. So then Google decides to put out its own render on Twitter, on their Made by Google Twitter account. And the crazy thing is, it's not like it's a mistake. They even said, they said something close to like, you're interested in this? Well, here it is. Can't wait to show you what it can do. So that was really surprising. We saw the back of the device. We still have no info on the front from Google itself, and it's not supposed to come out till October. So we're talking 4 months ahead of time. They've shown off at least the back of the device.
Yeah. So I'm very curious about this. So they just did the Pixel 3a stuff, which obviously wasn't a next-gen device, but it's a lower entry point, I guess, device, right?
Yeah, so the 3A is super cheap. I think it starts at $399. Excuse me.
I know a couple of people that got it, and they absolutely love it.
Yeah, I mean, I have the 3A XL, and it runs really well, and the camera technology is still fantastic. So everything that a Pixel 3 could do, this thing can do, just a tad bit slower. The processor's a little slower. It's plasticky. It doesn't have wireless charging. It doesn't have waterproofing, but this device is still very, very solid, and it's such a low price point. So if people want to get into an actual Google device where you get your updates when they're supposed to happen, it's a really great idea to go with the Pixel.
Yeah, so what do we know so far about this phone?
Okay, so with the 4, what we know is that one image. What we've heard so far, back in January, there was some benchmarks that were out. It looks like this thing will have a Snapdragon 855 processor, which is not surprising since that's pretty much the processor for every flagship phone, Android phone that is. But this one might actually have 6 gigs of RAM. Every other Pixel's had 4 from the very beginning, and including the 3A. They all have 4 gigs of RAM, which is kind of, I mean, if you're going to be charging a lot of money for a phone, you need to kind of amp this up. So it might have 6 gigs of RAM. There's been a couple of different images of the front of the device that it might have a punch out area for the camera, or it might have a notch. It's not
Yeah.
clear yet.
Yeah, so the camera looks gigantic. I mean, it's reminiscent of what Huawei is doing with their blocked, I guess, how many cameras? 3 cameras here on the back?
On the image from Google, there's definitely 2 lenses, a flash, and a third hole for a sensor. I'm not sure if it's like a time of flight sensor or whether it's some other kind of camera.
It kind of resembles a baby with a pacifier.
Okay, so what I'm curious about is how this is going to look on a white-backed device, because seeing that giant square on, black on black doesn't look so bad. Also, I don't know how tall this thing's going to be as a camera bump, because the first Pixel, they were super proud of so many things that they don't have anymore. There was no camera bump on the first Pixel. It was actually a wedge shape, so it could be thin at the bottom, have no camera bump. You could put it on a table, not a problem. But obviously, they've moved to camera bumps, and they've removed headphone jacks, and they've kind of moved with the standards, which is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But that square doesn't look bad black on black, but black on white, it might look terrible. So I'm thinking they might just keep that Panda version where it's black on top and white on the bottom.
Yeah, I'm curious about this. Now, this is, do you think they released it because of all the leaks that were coming out?
Okay, so last year, it was embarrassing how many leaks happened with the Pixel 3 XL. To the point where we saw it in July of last year. We saw video reviews of the phone in August, okay? The phone wasn't even introduced till October.
Yeah.
Google made fun of themselves because there was all this content on the 3XL. So when they showed it off, no one was excited about it. Nobody cared about it. They're like, okay, well, great. It's exactly what we thought. So I think Google's actually just getting way ahead. They're like, well, you know what? We did this last year. Didn't work. Let's go ahead and show people this is what the phone looks like, all right? And the big thing that made the Pixel 3 actually interesting was what the software features were, right? You had this, you could have call screening on your phone. They had a lot of cool features. They showed night sight for the first time. And that was an amazing revelation that you could take these photos. They claimed you'll never need a flash again. And when it comes to Pixel low light photography, it's really, really up there. I think the Huawei P30 Pro has knocked it off its perch a little bit, but Google's probably just saying, look, we're going to show you the phone. The hardware isn't what's really important about this. What's really important is what the software does. And hopefully, people will realize that maybe the design isn't the biggest thing. I'm just hoping the front of this is going to be a surprise that's really sleek and really nice.
And no notch. Or maybe a notch.
Okay, I've kind of come around to notches to the point where as long as they're not like comically large or they're multiple notches, I think I can be okay with this. But the XL had this kind of bizarre like notch that kind of ate into a very, very large portion of the screen because they packed in a dual front-facing cameras with this. So if you're going to have a notch, I guess they leaned into it. The question was, why bother with that? Might as well just go with a straight black part because the top of it is almost useless. But I was hoping that Google goes with a very, very slim top bezel. Like this is a Samsung Note, okay? You don't need too much bezel to actually have one of these things.
No, you don't need too much for that. So here's the thing. From what I read, I could be wrong here, but I believe Verizon has this scheduled for an October launch.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely in line with every other Pixel launch. Usually it's in October. Verizon used to be an exclusive partner for Google, so if you wanted to buy it in-store, you had to go to a Verizon store. A lot of people didn't realize that you could buy the phone from Google and bring it to any network at that point.
Yeah.
But with the Pixel 3a, it was available on a lot more carriers. So whether or not Verizon's still an exclusive partner for the flagship phone, that may be a thing, but I wonder if Google's gonna break off that deal to get more people with Pixels.
Well, here's the thing for me. You know, the Pixels are not a mainstream phone. People don't think about the Google Pixel when they think about. I'm saying regular people, right? I'm not talking about us within the tech community. People don't see this as an equivalent of Samsung due to lack of marketing, lack of availability in stores. This is not the Android phone that people buy.
That's true. I mean, Samsung does have a great media blitz, and they've worked for years to have this very, very evolved phone. The S10 is this perfect evolution of the Galaxy. The Notes are really nothing's really daring anymore with Samsung, right? It used to be they would try crazy stuff and something would work and something wouldn't. They'd keep moving forward. But at this point, Samsung's built such a brand that people think they think Android, they think Samsung, which is I mean, that's to Samsung's hard work. That's thanks to that. When it comes to Google, the first Pixel looked really pedestrian. Second one, same thing. The third one, it was somewhat embarrassing. So I'm thinking that with the fourth one, if it does have a cool style to it, it might be something that more people would get into. I know that Google had a ton of billboards up in California showing Phone X versus Google itself versus Pixel, showing low light photos. Google's trying to sell you on the software because the hardware is important, but you've seen what they can do with one camera on the back of their device. So I'm kind of curious what they can do with two, or even more than that.
Yeah, I'm curious as well because they, as far as I'm concerned, as far as availability goes, they have the best camera on the market. I think it's better than the iPhones at this point. Do you agree with that?
I think it's really neck and neck with the iPhone, if not slightly better, because I know. So I have that Pixel 3a XL, and I have my Note. Okay, and this has got a really great camera. But when I went to a game in Yankee Stadium, I was only taking pictures with the Pixel because I knew they would turn out great, and they turned out great.
Oh, you know what's amazing? You are like the 8th person to tell me that, like regularly. They're like, I have an iPhone, but I have a Pixel too. But I use my Pixel for a lot of like shots that I need that I know I have time to take it. But if I need like a quick shot, I just use my iPhone.
Yeah, the Pixel essentially, I brought it as a camera, and I was very happy to bring it because it didn't even have any network access. So I was just taking photos, and it didn't upload till I got home. So I was like, this is fine.
You know what's hysterical? It's hysterical that we still are somewhat still thinking like I know us, right? Like how we think. But there's still a group of people like us that still have like a secondary device for photos.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing with so I think this because I have a kid now, right? I didn't really care about photos too much because I'm like, hey, look, I was there. I don't need a video of this. I don't need a photo of this. I'm just gonna like live it. At this point, though, for videos and for photography, I want something slightly better than my phone. It's one of the reasons why I got the Note. It does some really great photos, but then you see the Pixel stuff, and you're like, oh, that's really good too.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to move over to the Pixel 4 because I've had it with the lack of updates from Samsung. I've had it with just the bizarreness of that. So I'm looking forward to the Pixel 4. Hopefully, it's not going to be hideous.
Yeah, well, that's the hope. So I have a Samsung S9, and I bought it because of the camera, and the camera is not great.
Yeah, I think comparatively at this point.
Comparatively,
like,
even
it was great then.
Well, I don't know. Compared to, I guess, what was the iPhone to compare it to? The iPhone 10.
iPhone, yeah, the 10, and then with the 8, right? There was the 10 and the 8, and those were pretty good.
This was not as good. They do this weird thing on Samsung where they do so much software processing on the photo where it doesn't look real sometimes.
Yeah, there's a bit to that. I've tried different camera apps, not exactly with any great results. So there is definitely a look that they kind of have this prettifying effect. They're trying to do that, and so your images don't look exactly as realistic as they should. But I mean, even Apple does the same thing. They actually will push certain colors to make it look like, oh, what a great day it was.
Yeah, and it's not real.
Well, some people were talking about that with Night Sight on Google. They're like, okay, so if you can take these photos in the dark and they look like it's broad daylight, is this a real photo? Is this a real memory? It's like, well, I don't think it matters because you wanted to capture that in one way or the other. If you want to make it darker, go ahead. You can always make it darker, but getting all that light information in is, I think, great.
Yeah. I do have a couple. I actually want to know about what you use every day, but before we continue, let's take a moment to talk about our great sponsor, and that's Storyblocks. If you are a content creator like myself and Iyaz, and you're looking for great videos to use within your content that you're creating, go to Storyblocks. Storyblocks.com/whatthetech to learn more, obviously, about Storyblocks videos. But Storyblocks videos gives you studio quality 4K stock videos that without blowing your budget. 2 words, guys. Unlimited downloads. Anything in the video members library is yours to download as much as you want, including HD video, 4K, After Effects templates, motion backgrounds, and way more when you sign up for the unlimited plan. Download anything from their audio and image library that gets you all the sounds, video effects, and photos that you need for with the unlimited all access plan. Also, all this stuff is royalty free, meaning you could use it for commercial use and personal. That's a big plus because I have to tell you, it's not great when you get a takedown notice on YouTube because you paid for something and now You can't use it anymore. I absolutely love these guys. They're great. We incorporate in a lot of my other side projects that I do, and there's new clips added each and every week. If you want to do something like the Statue of Liberty in 4K, bam, it's on there, and they're adding stuff all the time. Go to storyblocks.com/whatthetech to learn more. I want to thank Storyblocks for supporting the show. So, Iyaz, right now, your everyday phone is a Google Pixel, correct?
My everyday phone is a Samsung Galaxy Note 8.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
When did that happen?
I bought this when it came. Well, so I had a Pixel 2. Pixel 2 XL, and I really liked it at first. I had a Pixel, the original one, which died an unfortunate death because I decided to walk into the ocean with it. That's a long story. So I had the Pixel 2, and I was figuring out this mind mapping thing I like to do, and I'm writing on like bar cocktail napkins. And I'm looking at my phone, and I'm looking at these napkins. I'm looking at my phone, looking at these napkins. I'm like, why can't I write on my phone? Because I like to write in general. So I went with the Note 8 because not only because I could write on it, but the screen was much better. The 2XL had this LG plastic OLED screen, and once you could see the graininess on the screen, you couldn't unsee it. And unfortunately, I was aware of it, so I traded in that phone for the Note 8, and I've been using it since. So the Note 9 didn't do anything for me, so I was like, I'm not going to switch to that yet. But after being stuck on a Note and not getting my updates, I'm like, okay, I have to leave. I will carry a notepad.
What are you using as your everyday computer? I always try to find out. I obviously I want to talk about the Xbox, but I'm always curious about what people use on their everyday.
All right, for work, they outfitted me with a MacBook Pro with the Touch Bar, so that's pretty cool.
How do you like
I don't
it?
really. Keyboard's atrocious. I really, how like, oh, you'll get used to it. It's like, good luck with that. It's like one step away from typing on glass. It's really not that great. Otherwise, its performance is really good. I like that. At home, I have like this really old MacBook Pro 13-inch, where it has like all the ports. So that's how old it is. So it doesn't have like a disk drive. It ain't that old. So I think it's like 2016, maybe. But I use that for like a day-to-day driver.
That's your day-to-day. See, I'm using my MacBook Pro. That's my everyday at this point. And then at home, it's funny. My everyday when I travel is my MacBook Pro because all my work stuff is on there. But I'm using an HP Spectre as my everyday at home.
Yeah, I've been eyeballing the Dell XPS 13 for a while. I've been thinking about this because it's fast, it's light, it looks great, the performance can be great too. So I'm in the market for a new laptop, but I haven't committed yet.
What are you looking at? Do you want to stay on the Mac side, or are you looking at getting a PC?
It doesn't matter, honestly. Like at this point, what I used to use my computers for in general was video editing. At this point, I don't do a lot of editing anymore, so I can kind of do anything. I switched to Premiere several years ago because what they did to Final Cut.
Yeah.
I learned Final Cut. I liked Final Cut the way it used to be. Then they changed it, and so the Mac lock-in was no longer there. So I can go either way.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm using a Mac. So other stuff that happened here, it was the Xbox announcement while I was traveling. We got some information on that. A lot of people are excited over this. A lot of people are still, questioning what's going on with this. Did you follow with the Xbox stuff? Obviously, I'm going to talk about it, but I'm curious what the reports are, the last couple of days of what's happening on the Xbox side.
I've been in a bit of a bubble lately, so I'm just kind of catching up on it right now.
Yeah, obviously, bigger and better in the next gen. I had the specs in front of me, and it just closed out, so I got to open it up again. Do you have it in front of you, by the way?
I don't have the specs for it, but I do have the information that it's Project Scarlett is the name of the next, at least that's the code name for the next version of the Xbox. It's not another version of the Xbox One, but it is going to be backward compatible with all Xbox One games and accessories, which I thought was a really good point, because if you're going to keep moving up, it's such a hard thing to swallow. You have to think, do I have to buy my games again? Didn't I already own this? Do I have to do this again? And then if you have your accessories like controllers and cameras or whatever else, you want those to work too. So the lock-in, especially for Xbox, I think this is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it here right now. During the keynote, it says it eats monsters for breakfast. During the presentation at E3, The new console is going to be powered by a GDDR6 RAM. It's capable of producing 120 frames per second gameplay, as well as 8K. This is a real commitment into the future of television and gaming with their 8K capability. This next generation is going to be bigger leap than any other generation, Microsoft is claiming. We know that it's going to be powered by a custom designed processor, leveraging AMD's Zen 2 and Radeon RDNA architecture. The new processor on the Xbox Scarlett, the code name, will make the console 4 times faster than the current one right now. This is a very aggressive play at having high specs. At this point, it really looks like they want to get off on a really big bang compared to the previous launch, because we saw what happened. They kind of fell behind Sony last time around, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that was because Microsoft focused on media first instead of gaming, which was, I get their long-term play, like especially now, but because of this initial introduction of the Xbox One as this media device, people are like, I don't want this. I want a gaming device. So that's one of the reasons PlayStation did so well. But this Project Scarlett thing sounds insane. It sounds like it's going to have at least a 10-year lifespan. If you're talking about 8K, you're pushing out 8K. I don't think there's a lot of 8K TVs available.
No, so like, they're really. I mean, here's the thing. Right now, how many people have adopted the 4K TV yet? You know, how much 4K content is available? I know that it probably is going to be a little bit different for gaming. There's going to be 8K capable games quicker than 4K 8K available content. But we are skipping over an entire generation that has kind of fallen to the wayside right now with 4K. I still have not purchased a 4K TV.
Yeah, neither have I.
Neither have you.
I don't need to get one just yet. Again, like I'm thinking about laptop investments and other things that would be a better use of my money. But when it comes to this, it sounds like Project Scarlett's going to be meant for not only these 4K TVs and the 8K TVs, but these games are going to look great even when you're watching or playing them on a 4K TV or even playing on a 1080 screen, because it's going to have tons of information in there. Because if they're developing games with this much data with it, they're going to be playable for a long time.
Yeah, obviously this is a play at the future, and to show that their commitment to the future of gaming and future of Xbox. I do have to say, with the Xbox One announcement, when they concentrated so heavily on media, I did not perceive that as a negative. As someone that is a casual gamer, I perceived that as welcoming to me to have this in my living room. Unfortunately, it turned off their core market.
Yeah, it's when you alienate gamers from a gaming console, that's kind of that's a huge loss right there, right?
Yeah, tremendous.
I thought if they didn't center the Xbox One announcement on the media side, probably would have done better. Microsoft has tons and tons of great franchises, and they've had great games in the past. So what's crazy is all these media devices have sort of converged, right? Now Apple TV has already had games, but it now has Xbox controller support. It's going to have already had PlayStation controller support. So everything can kind of game now. So the idea when Microsoft introduced this, essentially, here's a shock. You've never heard this before about Microsoft. They were slightly ahead of their time again.
Oh, wow.
Just their timing is always just a little ahead. They just need to slow down a little bit. Because I'm sure if you introduce that now, HDMI pass-through, and you can always access this thing, and you could speak to it. Everyone's like, I don't want this thing listening to me all day. Fast forward to now, we've got.
It's wild how HDMI pass-through is not. It didn't pick up. It didn't become a main thing.
I liked that as an idea because you always had access to your Xbox, and you could have your television stuff in Windows. Essentially, you can look at more data as you're using your device. But I think that concept, which is also like a remnant of like old media center PCs, this idea is still not mainstream. I don't know when it will become this mainstream thing where you can have a little box and you can look at your fantasy stats at the bottom for sports. But I mean, it's Microsoft, so like they still will sometimes miss it slightly, but it'll be totally normal in about 10 years.
They also showed and announced their next gen controller. It's a modified version of what we currently have. They are saying it's the world's most advanced controller. New adjustable tension thumbsticks, high precision controlling, new grips.
Is
Uh,
this the Elite 2?
this is the Elite Wireless Controller Series 2. Yes.
Yes. For serious gamers, I think it starts like at $180. I remember seeing those stats for the first one. I was like, this is insane. But if you're down to the millisecond and you want really great controlled response, I could see investing that much, especially if you're spending hours and hours on games.
So
I don't.
the other thing
So
that they announced, which I found awesome, is that they're bringing back Flight Simulator.
what?
Yes, it's going to be available in
Okay.
2020. It's going to be 4K and it's going to be powered by Azure AI.
That sounds amazing.
It
Actually,
sounds
'cause I mean,
amazing. Yeah, I have a friend and he's a pilot, like an amateur pilot, not like American Airlines pilot. And this guy said he learned a lot of what he does now in Flight Simulator when he was younger, because of how realistic it is.
yeah, I've heard great things about it. I've played it, and even with those graphics at the old days, it didn't really matter because you were trying to figure out how to make this thing work. So to see it in 4K would be really cool because it's already so accurate when it comes to controls. The idea you'll be able to see more realistic graphics sounds like it'd be a lot of fun.
I mean, I see this being used for training purposes more than anything else, right? I know that there's a whole community around Flight Simulator and other kinds of flight simulators that I've watched the YouTube videos of a lot of people playing these things. But you having it in 4K and having it actually have AI where you could go to a venue, I envision Microsoft having this giant cockpit that you go into at the Microsoft store and you could actually play around with it.
A full simulator?
A full simulator.
I could see that, although it's going to take up a lot of floor space. So consider that.
Listen, they have plenty of space in that store. Nobody's buying anything. Nobody's buying anything in that store. They're just walking around. It's like the Apple store.
That's true. I mean, they're supposed to be friendly to do that, right?
Yeah. Since we're on the topic of gaming, I kind of wanted to ask you this. We are doing a quick show. I'm really jet lagged still, so I wanted to do something with Iyaz and talk to him about a couple of questions that I had. What do you think of Google's controller and their entryway into gaming?
Yeah, so Google Stadia, I got to try out the controller at Google I/O. It feels fine. They had some demos of the games working. I should explain a little bit about Stadia if you don't know anything about it, folks at home. So Google actually announced pricing about this. It's a game streaming service, and right now, if you pay, it's supposed to be like $10 a month, and this doesn't make a lot of sense. For $10 a month, you essentially get to use Google's cloud to play your games. So you get like one free game. It's supposed to be a library of titles with this. I think they only announced Destiny. So you'll be able to get access to play these games in your browser. So your computer can be really slow. It can be really cheap. At I/O, they actually showed Stadia running a game on the cheapest laptop they could buy at Best Buy. And it was running so it runs extremely smoothly on that. And they claimed there that there wasn't like a box in the back feeding this a video feed or anything like that. So they're trying to assure me that this is a real deal here. And you'll also be able to buy games. So in theory, a lot of people are getting upset about this idea of like, wait, so I have to buy the game separately and I have to pay for your service to access the game? Like, what exactly is going on there? There is a free version that will be available too, but it limits the resolution to 1080p and I think stereo audio instead of 5.1. So it's a really interesting play into this because Google's got Chromebooks, they've got phones, they can do things where you can play these extraordinary games on, well, cheap hardware. And that, I think, will get more people into games in general because the other half of this is that all you need, apparently, is just like a link from a web page, and you can be playing the game within several seconds.
Within Chrome.
Oh, yes. So there's no download. It's just hit the link and you play, which is insane if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it says, up to 60 frames a second, 4K HDR. I mean, it's supporting all the things that you would imagine. The bandwidth, however, it's interesting. Their recommended bandwidth is 10 megabits a second for 720p. For 4K, you need 35 megabits a second consistently, I guess.
Yeah, I'm curious if this video will degrade if your signal drops, kind of like when you go to Netflix and you kind of have like a really bumpy kind of connection that you have this great 1080p image and then it goes to like 640 by 360 and you're like, what's happening? Why is it all blocky? So I'm curious how that's going to affect gameplay. because every second counts. So if it's rebuffering or something, I don't know if Stadia will try to figure out an average speed that you have and pop out that one resolution, or will it dynamically change on the fly?
That's funny. I just did a test on. Actually, let me switch my internet. I just did one and told me that my download speed is 18 megabits a second, and that's not true at all. So let me yeah, which it says that I could play, but it won't be great. Let me try it again. So I'm gonna run this test to see, and I have gigabit internet here. So this is interesting to see what it tells me. It takes about 30 seconds to run this test.
Which service are you using to check?
Their own within Project Stream.google.com. They have a way to test if what you could play at, what you're capable of playing at. So I'm on Wi-Fi here, obviously.
I love the idea that because that one's going to be the most accurate, because a lot of people or a lot of companies have tweaked their connection speed for, I think it's Speakeasy or their test. There's also the one from Netflix. I think it's called Fast.com.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that Stadia would give you a low average, because they don't want to go, you're going to be able to play at 4K and then you're going to be really angry about this.
They did give me a low average. They gave me a very low average compared to let me go to let's go to speed test and see what they say, because they gave me 100 megabits a second right now for my average.
100's not bad.
100 is not great considering I pay for gigabit.
Well, I mean, if you can consistently play a game at that speed on Wi-Fi, it's not bad at all.
So on speed test on Wi-Fi, I'm doing 300.
Yeah. Okay. That's probably tweaked. So
yeah. So they yeah. This is. I mean, I guess it is pretty accurate, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's your max. Your maximum is 300. So that's the thing. Like, what is sustainable?
What's
throughout
sustainable?
Gameplay. That's really important, because if again, like we were saying, if it dynamically changes the resolution while you're playing, I don't think anyone's going to enjoy that. That's going to be a terrible experience.
Yeah.
But if it's going, hey, look, your average is 18. We're going to give you 720, and it's going to be solid.
Yeah.
No matter what. Versus, oh, look, it looks great. Oh, it looks like crap. It looks great. I mean, it's going to drive people crazy.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad that we did a little show here today. You do a little show on CNET. You're like the face of CNET at this point.
I've heard that. I think that's a huge lie, but I thank you for saying it. I do in a couple of shows here. You should go to cnet.com and you can watch the shows there, or youtube.com/cnet. We're doing some really cool stuff over there, so I really highly recommend going to our YouTube channel. I'm never going to say to you guys, at least at this point, I've said it on other shows, you don't have to actually hit that notification thing. There's new videos every day. Okay, there's always a new video.
Yeah, well, you're on my TV almost every night, and I end up watching you. And Jess goes, "Why are you watching Iyaz again? You guys are friends." I said, "We are friends, and that's why I watch his video." He goes, she's like, I sometimes walk in here, and I think you're on the phone with him.
Well, I've gotten similar discussions when I'm watching Mad Men.
Yeah, it's the same, right?
Why don't you just go to press? You can talk about wrestling there.
I know. We need a press day together. I'm actually on my way to Manhattan right now.
Okay, I happen to be in Manhattan.
Maybe we could get together today. I'm shooting out of here. I'm taking an Uber. That's how urgent this meeting is that I have to get to.
And we'll talk offline about that.
Yeah, we'll talk offline. Guys, go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. No Matt Men. Geez, I'm losing my mind. No What the Tech Patreon special today. We'll be back next week with that. And I want to, once again, you can follow Iyaz on Twitter. Obviously, CNET and everything else he's doing. You could just follow him there. And we'll see you all next week. Take care.